now, just so you're all aware. This will get published to our YouTube account. That way you can refer back to it and we can share it out with anyone that wasn't able to attend. My name is Rose Ludeman. I am the Professional Development Specialist here at ECC, and I am super excited for tonight's training. It is the specials, physical education, art, and music in early childhood. We've got some amazing experts lined up for you guys to listen to. So we have Dr. Derby from Black Hills State University. She is the physical education methods and PE guru up there. So you're going to get some great tips from her. And then Krista Caldwell here at ECC. She's our school age specialist, and she is certified in Sanford Fit and knows all about the great resources that she can offer for you there. So we're going to move right along. Okay, if you weren't here last time, which I think I recognize most of you from last time, here's kind of how the flow happens. You're going to meet the experts. We're not going to spend very much time there. We're going to identify the problem. We're going to hear from the experts. And then we did not have any pre-submitted questions. However, I came up with a couple that I think as a teacher I would want advice on. And then if we have time for any wrap-up questions as well. Hopefully you got all of the resources that I sent earlier. Some of them were publisher files, so I did get an email. I haven't had a chance to respond, but if you can't open them or access them, please let me know and I'll convert them to Microsoft Word because we want you guys to be able to use these things. Okay, before we turn it over to Dr. Derby and Krista, I want to give a heads up that they are both sick. They were both homesick today, but they are powering through just as you guys all have to in the early childhood field. And they're here tonight to speak to us on the importance of these topics. So just give them a little grace if they have to cough or anything, and I'll try and pick up the slack if they do need to take a drink of water or anything. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Derby. She'll do a little brief intro and we'll move on.
Awesome. Can you hear me okay?
Great.
Perfect. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Breon Derby, and this is going to be short and sweet. But I'm really just excited to be here and kind of share my passion for not only physical education, but just physical activity in general, and then also active learning. So, I've been in the field 16 years, and 11 of those have been at Black Hills State. So I'm just, you can read my bio there, but I'm just super excited to get started and see what kind of questions you might have.
Awesome. Thank you, Bree. Okay, we'll move on to Krista. Krista Caldwell, I'll let you introduce yourself. I see Krista on there, but I'm not seeing her. I'll give a little brief intro of her. She is our school age specialist. Like I said earlier, here's her bio. If she happens to log back on, probably some tech difficulties will allow her to speak then, but most of you should know her or have worked with her. Okay. All right. So tonight is all about physical education, art, and music, and how you guys as early childhood educators can feel more comfortable, confident to implement these things in your classroom, your home daycare, or wherever you are providing care for young children. So this quote, I think, kind of encapsulates the problem that I'm seeing and that I have felt as an early childhood teacher. So what often gets lost in the shuffle is that all three programs contribute to the cognitive function and improved test scores in math, language arts, and other academic subjects. And all three are important to developing creativity, which is a crucial factor in school and post-school success. The evidence is clear that time spent in these special programs does not result in less learning because of less time studying other subject matters. It's the contrary. Time spent in these programs enhances school success. So if we are not implementing it and allowing children to have access to this, we're actually causing more harm than we are good. So tonight's experts are going to provide you with hopefully some ways you can do it that doesn't provide more stress and that you feel confident to do it and your children can reap the benefits of it. Before we hop into Dr. Derby, if you attended last month's Evening with the Experts, it was all about challenging behaviors and anxiety. And I found this correlating article that one of the experts mentioned in that article we shared with you, Dr. Rady. he talks about these bulleted items here, how the exercise actually decreases anxiety and the symptoms that you would have. And this would go even with young children. So if you are seeing those challenging behaviors, the signs and symptoms that we talked about at last month's Evening with the Experts, just getting these children active, actively engaged, active learning, you're going to help yourself and you'll see a decrease in those challenging behaviors. So I'm not going to go into the bulleted list because that is what Dr. Derby actually has lots of information on. So, but as you can see, what you're doing is going to help you in the long run. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Derby and she's going to dive a little deeper into the science behind it and then some resources.
Perfect. Thank you. So tonight I really just want to talk to you about purposeful movement. So not just moving to move, but why are we actually moving and how to get kids more active and engaged. And so I love that Rose found that article making the connection to your last expert, Night with the Expert, because Dr. Rady actually has spent over 50 years researching how physical activity enhances cognitive function. And so, in order for you to buy into integrating movement into your, child care centers or classroom, you have to understand the why behind it. And so, Dr. Rady wrote. It's called Spark, the Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain. And it's just, again, over 50 years of his own research, along with other research showing the benefits of exercise. And then also another guru in the field is Dr. John Medina, or Medina, I guess is how you say it. But he has wrote a ton of different books, but one of the biggest ones is it's called Brain Rules. And number one rule is exercise boosts brain power. And he goes into why that is. And one of the biggest reasons is it's called brain derived neurotrophic factor. And what that is, it's a protein for the brain. And as we start moving, that protein starts to come alive in the brain. And why that's critical to learning is because it's tied to enhancing memory and recall, which are two big things, obviously, when it comes to brain health and learning. And so this little movement and learning chart here that you guys can look at, this comes from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, but you can look at the positive effects that physical activity has on the brain. But some of the big ones, we obviously get taught all about the benefits of physical activity like long term. So yeah, it reduces coronary heart disease, it reduces potential for type 2 diabetes, cancer prevention, all these things long term, but what does it do for us now? And so right now, for you, if you integrate physical activity, these are some of the benefits that you could see in your kiddos. Mood regulation, self-esteem, impulse control is a huge one. Combats of stress, which Rose kind of alluded to, and your expert last month or whenever you did that. And then memory retention, less fidgety, improve social, emotional, and problem solving skills. So that's all I got on that one, Rose.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, like Dr. Derby said, I mean, you can see in this little, I love infographs, by the way, but you can see the benefits far outweigh the time that you might have to invest in maybe learning a little bit more or trying to be strategic about implementing some of this. And some of it's going to come natural. It's going to be easy to do it in lessons you're already doing. And we're going to talk about some resources there. And then, like Dr. Derby also said, sometimes it does need to be, explicit. So does it have a purpose? We're not just getting the wiggles out, which I know that there is a time for that when you need those brain breaks, but also being forward and cognizant about why you're having these kids move, right? So, okay. I see Krista logged back in, so hopefully she's got a better connection. Krista, did you have anything to add on to this slide?
Can you hear me okay?
There you are. Yeah.
I can't tell you, I was going through a panic trying to set up all my technology over here. So I apologize, everyone, that I couldn't get connected. But um, no, at this point, I agree with everything so far. So we can keep going. And if I think of something, I'll add in.
Sounds great. Okay. I will further say that that book, Spark, that Dr. Derby mentioned, it was life-changing for me. I read it in my first couple of years of teaching. So even though the science and his studies were based off of older children, it still carries over for our work in early childhood. So don't be afraid to look into that book more. All right, this is
Absolutely.
back to Dr. Derby.
Okay, perfect. So along with purposeful movement, I really just wanted to focus on the environment. And so one of the biggest things for everybody to take away is that we know that students who are both confident and competent movers are more likely to engage in physical activity throughout their life. So I kind of wanted to take a look at both of those. So how do we create confident movers? And for you guys, it's just creating this positive culture and positive feelings surrounding movement, and just creating a space where kids feel comfortable in their own body. So that's how we create confidence. And then for competence, it's really about practice. So looking at your environment that you have and trying to figure out what kind of opportunities am I giving my kids to engage in physical activity. And again, are they comfortable? Are they in a positive environment? You guys are not the fitness police. You know, we're not here to make sure everything's done perfectly. You're here to just make sure that kids are feeling comfortable and getting those active movement times, unless you're the specific physical education teacher, and then we have more to talk about. But other than that, just creating that really comfortable environment, and also developmentally appropriate activities. So anytime I start talking with teachers and we start getting activities going, we tend to go to like the least liked activities. So you tend to think about like push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, like all the things that we hated to do as kids, and some of us hate to do now. And I just want to say, like, no go on that. Okay. Unless these kids are super excited for it, no go. We want it to be developmentally appropriate. So we want to do, swim like a dolphin, or, crawl like a spider. We want to do things that are very fun and just get them moving in an engaging way. And so when you look at the how again, looking at learning environment, we look at comprehensive physical activities. So again, I know some of you are in home. So again, I just kind of want you to think about how you plan your day. But for those of us in the school environment, your before and after school programs, your daily classroom movement, obviously advocating for recess. And then if you do have physical education, you want to, again, be the biggest advocate for it, because we know research supports movement and academic success for kids. So you want to have that daily high quality physical education. And then when we look at kind of the bigger picture, okay? So how, if you've never done this before, or maybe you're just kind of new at this, how do we prepare teachers to feel more confident in integrating movement into your space? And I think my biggest advice is just to start small, because there's so much information out there. And we're going to give you a lot of good resources today that are just clicked and locked and ready to go for you. But just pick one or two and just try it out. Because honestly, if you try it out with your kids, I guarantee that you're going to want to do more of it, and the kids are going to want to do more of it. Okay. But I just encourage you to try it yourself. Um, and I think one of the biggest thing as a teacher doing this, you have to get out of your own way, because sometimes just because you don't learn best by moving doesn't mean that the kids, or that there's not certain kids in your class that move, that move best through movement. And so you just kind of got to break down your own barrier and understand that if it's not disrupting learning for self or others, why do we care? Right. So just getting out of your own way, integrating those brain boosters, and trying to create that environment that enhances physical activity. The next thing that I'm more than happy to help with questions on that if any of you are feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But the next thing I want to address is the kinesthetic versus flexible classrooms. So I think everybody at this point has flexible learning environments. And that means things like, you have maybe different options for seating, like a couch or maybe a beanbag. Okay, maybe you have like a flexible bookshelf, some different things like that. And that's great. That's a flexible classroom. But now I want you to look at it through the lens of kinesthetic learning. So do you have the wobble stools? Do you have fidgets? Do you have, there's bands you can put on the bottom of the chairs for those that need some, the bouncy knee kiddos. Okay. So what do you have to support the kinesthetic learner? Okay, that takes no time and effort on your end, but when they come in, they get to choose where they get to learn most effectively. And then we have action-based learning. So obviously integrating movement when you can into any of the educational materials that you have. And the easiest way for that, I feel like, is I talk about lifting material off the page. So if you have some type of worksheets, just looking at it and being like, even if it's like a little intro, can I tie a movement to a color, or can I tie a movement to a letter? Or how can you lift something off the page to integrate movement? And that's just a really super easy way. It really doesn't take much time or effort. And then the last one is going to be the kinesthetic pathways. And I hope everybody's familiar with this. But it's really, again, looking at your environment in kind of a 3D space. So what can you have on the walls? What can you have on the ceiling? What can you have on the floor that, again, provides kids that opportunity to move throughout the day? Again, takes little time, little effort, but they're able to practice and, again, get more confident and competent in particularly the locomotor skills. So hopping, jumping, skipping, running, all the good things that they should be competent in by second grade. But we have some really great resources that are going to show you some printouts for those kinesthetic pathways, what they can be doing, again, on the walls and on the floors to get kids moving.
I love it. I wanted to touch base on something that I took away actually under Dr. Derby's class, and just tying it, it doesn't have to be a whole new lesson, right? Like she said, like whatever concept you're teaching, add in just some sort of physical movement to it. And not only are you helping those children, right? Because if they're kinesthetic learners, they're going to learn that concept and it's going to stick. It's going to create a stronger neural pathway for them. And so one of my favorite things, I thought I would just throw out at the example, is that when we were working on phonics and like letter sounds, is we would cross our midline, because making your body learn to cross, was so important and the benefits were huge. So just something simple like that. So if you're working on your letter sounds and they're working on the letter A, have them cross the midline. So it doesn't have to be rocket science to help these kiddos. So, all right, Krista, did you have anything to add on to this page?
Yeah, just, kids that move, any movement is movement. So when we look at kids, if you're doing a circle time, and let's say that you see them start to get a little wiggly, we always try to hold on, we got to get through this. Let's sit down, let's be quiet, let's finish our lesson. Well, that's them telling you, like, hey, my body's ready to move. Let's do something. So how could you incorporate, again, any kind of lesson that you're learning, make it a movement based, stand up, split your circle time where you do a movement, then, maybe a calming thing, and then you stand back up and do a movement. So anything you can incorporate that, because kids are naturally telling you, hey, I got to move, it's maybe not okay to run around the classroom, but we see you. I see you, you need to move. So how can we meet your needs?
Absolutely. I think that goes back to that developmentally appropriate circle time, which is a whole nother, lesson for early childhood, but then providing them that chance and for you to listen and acknowledge it. So great point, Krista. Okay. Okay, Sanford Fit. So I'm going to let Krista give a little synopsis here, and then I'm actually going to share the website so you guys can see us kind of navigate through it. And hopefully you guys all got that lesson plan also that she prepared. So I'll turn it over to Krista.
Again, I apologize for my voice. I hope you guys can hear me okay. But yeah, FIT is a great program. It is a free online resource for teachers, family, parents, anybody to get motivated, to get moving. And it's all based on 4 pillars. Move, food, recharge, and move, food, recharge, and mood. And so they all correlate together, and it's based upon, your mood affects whether you're going to move or not, whether you like, being sick, how am I going to fuel my body to feel better? Am I going to, when I get the flu, am I just going to drink pop and eat all bad stuff? No, because that's not going to help me get better. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to stay hydrated. So I make healthy choices to move and do different things. So Sanford Fit has all free resources. The printables that you guys got, Fit Boost is more for the older kids, and Fit Flow is kind of for both. Healthy Choices posters for all ages, and then the Wellness Way is for all ages too. So those are just different resources that you guys can put in your classroom. The Wellness Way is a bunch of posters that you can put along the walls. So if you want to have a movement time where they're going to different places in your classroom and doing the different activities. A lot of the things, sometimes some of the things that I hear from educators or parents is that we don't have the space. We don't have the space to move. And so along with that, it's like looking at your classroom or the space that you have. What could you do? Well, it doesn't have to be, we're not going to, you don't have to go do an active game. You don't have to take up so much space just to get the kids to move. So looking at your space, going on to the Fit website and picking out different activities that you'd like to try. And then we can come along and we can help you, figure out how you can implement that in the space that you have. So when Rose when Rose pulls up the website, we can talk about it.
There it should be.
So yeah, this is what the website looks like. And again, it's a free online resource and it's wonderful. I use it all the time. Those are the 4 pillars. So food, mood, move, and recharge. Food is based on all the healthy choices, the healthy, nutritious choices that you can make. It helps you with picky eaters that you might have in your center. Also with these two, if you guys are implementing certain things in your center, you can print out anything with that and send it to your parents. So then they can help mimic. Maybe you got their child to eat broccoli, at your center, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can never get my kid to eat anything." And you're like, "Well, here's how we did it. Here's how you can copy and mimic it at home so that it stays consistent." So that's food helps with that. And then mood is all about that social emotional aspect. And again, there's free resources, there's articles, there's videos, there's lesson plans on here that you could do. But mood is based on, how we feel and our emotions. Move is all that movement. So again, we're talking about, PE and different things like that. Move is where you can find all the different activities that you could incorporate. There's also weekly lesson plans that you guys could do with, and again, you can send them home to the parents and say, "Hey, this is what we've been doing." You can mimic it and go back and forth. And then recharge focuses on healthy screen-free activities. So we have, we've got the iPad kids, the parents might be cooking food or they might be doing something at home and they don't have that time where they can focus. So they're like, here's a phone, here's your iPad. Well, Recharge focuses on all of the screen-free activities that kids can do. And so all 4 of these pillars correlate. And what I do too is I can teach different trainings on each of these pillars. So all of these trainings are free. There's 4 trainings for 8 hours or they're separate trainings. So, and then what I can do too is I can go into your center, or I could do one-on-one and lead activities with you guys. So it's just a great resource. I apologize if I'm freezing up a little bit.
You were doing good. I feel bad for your raspy voice though. So thank you to you and Bree for hanging in there tonight for us. So
Sorry, guys.
I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and let Dr. Derby talk about open. So this is a new one for me. I was unfamiliar with it. However, after she brought it up in our initial meeting, I logged on to their website and it's such a great resource. And again, it's one that you can pull from and it should be really simple to navigate. So I'll let her explain it a little bit and then we'll go over to the website as well.
Yay, I'm so happy you love it, Rose. I knew you would. Okay, so this is actually, again, you guys got to just take from it what your goals are and what you're trying to do. But this is kind of the, um, what do I say? Like, this is our main go-to curricular resource for physical education right now. And so this is what I teach all my kids on. It's free for you guys and they constantly update it. And so I don't know how familiar you guys are with the physical education standards, but we just came out with new revised standards and actually social development is a standalone standard at this point. So what's really cool about that is open, I see now they're getting more and more of that social emotional learning piece into physical activity, which is critical. And I know critical for young kids particularly. But for you guys, I mean, if you want to get on and look at some kindergarten activities, it's awesome because they have the visual for you to actually get on. So it's, I mean, you can just know exactly where you want the kids set up and it's super easy. But mainly you can look at like some classroom movement stuff. Let's see, where else? Let's see. So active, there's an active classroom section. There's an active after school. There's an active home for those of you that are in-home providers, or again, if you want to send that information to parents. And then also there's a big advocacy point. Again, if you're in the schools and you need to advocate for recess, there's an advocacy point for that because we know research tells us the kids that lose recess time are the ones that need it the most. But super fun. If you go up to the top, yep, that's where you're going to find. So you just log in for free. And then, yep, there's your early childhood stuff, rhythm and movement. And it's all standards based. It's all, I mean, it has all the good stuff. And then there should be some stuff that are limited to no equipment, plus some that have like the scarves and bean bags and things like that. But you can again always just use socks or napkins, whatever. You don't need to have scarves if you don't have them. Just get creative with it. And then yeah, so if you even go down to like physical activity, just go down, yep, there. So there's your active classrooms, your active after school, active home, click that. And then it's kind of fun too because again, developmental appropriateness. So I'm sure there's some Valentine's stuff on there now, but they tend to do a really good job, like pumpkin patch stuff. They tend to do themes depending on the season. So there's building a snowman, pumpkin patch. I haven't been on here to look at the Valentine stuff, but I'm sure there's Valentine stuff. But more than enough resources for you here. If this is the only one you use, but Sanford Fit is also amazing. So these two are going to get you a long way.
I just wanted to click on a link so that you guys could see kind of what a PDF or lesson plan is from here. It looks like there's more activities with this one. So, does anybody have any questions on either of those two resources before we move on? I just want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with how to navigate and how to access those. I will say the registration for open, you do have to scroll down a little bit to find early childhood educators. So don't give up and say, because I can empathize with that, is a lot of times websites and things are just tailored to public school teachers. And so it can be like frustrating to not see yourself as an option. However, you are listed. You just have to scroll down and find it. So, but yeah, I want to open it up if anybody has any questions or thoughts about either of these, because we want you to feel comfortable using these. No? All right. Well, we're going to hop back in and share the PowerPoint again. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our physical education and the importance of movement portion. So since this is specials and it encompasses those three, I'm going to talk a little bit about the next two. However, I'm going to offer feedback to Dr. Derby and Krista. So I know that they're big believers in all the specials. So the next one is art, and I found this really great comprehensive list, and this is an early childhood art educator that came up with it. So if you're not familiar with the concept of process versus product, that just means that we should be focused more on how the child is doing the art versus the end product, right? What are they learning? What are they gaining? How are they being creative? What is the process going on in their little brains, right? That's the important part. So this is some do's and don'ts here. Do you encourage individual differences? So not everybody is going to draw the same flower. Not everybody is going to want to draw a flower, and that's fine, right? You have to be okay. And I think it was Dr. Derby earlier who said, sometimes you are your biggest like hang up, right? Is that you're not comfortable with learning through physical movement. And it could be the same thing with art or music, right? If you're not comfortable with it, you're probably not going to implement it. However, I would guarantee at some point you loved art. Every child feels involved and loves that creative output, but at some point in your life, through some way, you thought you weren't good at it, right? Or it didn't hold your interest. So allow these children to engage in it. Be flexible, leave the child alone. This is one that I was guilty of as a teacher. You want to ask those higher level learning questions all the time, right? You want to take it to the next level. Sometimes it's good to just step back and allow them to engage in that learning process by experimenting and creating. Allow them to ask you questions, honor the child's ideas above all. So those are like your good do list. Don't adjust their artwork in any way. Don't try and say, oh, well, maybe you should be using black, or come in and show them how to make a correct circle. Allow them to do it. Don't ever compare. We should know this. This should be common sense. Don't compare somebody else's work to another's. This one's another hard one, especially if you've been a teacher for a while. Don't over acknowledge a child's work. So too much attention, even praise, even if it's positive words that you're saying, it can cause them to be self-conscious and they can shut down. And then the last one, you shouldn't write, draw on any way on their art. So if you are doing like the environmental scale where you are dictating what the child did or what they drew, try to do it on a note card versus on the actual piece. So that way you're not altering it, changing it, but it is still allowing the child to dictate to you what they did, what they drew, what was the story behind it. So try to get a little, even a sticky note that you can, put up next to it. See chat. Oh, there's just somebody lost connection. Okay. So these were the do's and don'ts. Now this, again, process versus product is one of the big takeaways. Now the next resource I sent out to you guys, we're going to navigate over, and I just think this is so beautifully done and kind of how I taught art when I was teaching. So exposure, let me see if the hyperlink will work now that we're shared screen. No, it's not. Okay, I'm going to stop share and reshare this screen. Hold on, guys. Exposure to the great artworks and the great artists, that isn't something that is going to happen to every child. We don't know what type of home life they have, if they even get those type of books in their house, if they get to go to museums. So that does kind of fall on you and any teacher to provide them with that opportunity to see these and to appreciate them. So let me... Hopefully this link will work now. Okay, there it is. Share it. Okay, so this is a pre-K resource. So you're looking at, your older twos all the way up to 6 and 7. But this is made by the National Gallery of Art. And what they did is they took some famous artists and famous artwork, and they took and made comprehensive lessons for you to walk away with. So I did share this PDF with you, but I wanted to dive into it so that you could see. They provide you with some higher level learning questions. So when you're looking at some of these great pieces of art, you can ask them questions and it's going to get them thinking about it. So like the look, what is the first thing you see when you look at this work of art? Why do you think it caught your attention? So as you can see right there under the look, a whole list of different questions to engage them in higher level learning when they're looking at it. And if you are thinking, well, I don't have access to a bunch of art, you could just print these out and have them in your classroom, right? It doesn't have to be art hanging on the wall. It can just be printables, and ECC laminates any early childhood provider for free. So if you wanted to go on and pick a bunch of famous artwork that you wanted in your classroom, bring it to us or send it to us and we can laminate that for you. We would love to help you have art exposure for your children. Then it goes into an art project that kind of coordinates back to that artwork. So in this one, you're making a collage. It even goes through all of the materials you're going to need, the step-by-step process. So it breaks everything down. Then, as we spoke on earlier, how you can implement like physical education in other disciplines. So like when you're talking about literacy or math, how you can tie in some movement. You can do the same with art. So here you can read a book. So in this lesson plan, they've identified a book that coordinates back to this. And then they've also have a couple of identified new vocabulary. So you get to teach the children some new words, right? So this is just a beautiful resource. It has different artists featured, different types of medium. So like this one, they're working with pastels, whereas the first one was a collage. So it's just really beautifully done. And this one is 3D and sculptures. So it's a great resource and it's a good way to get your toes into the implementing classic art in your classroom with early childhood. Andrea, postcards are great. Absolutely. And postcards are cheap. Another really great thing is if you ever see college students giving away their textbooks, which happens on Facebook quite a bit, get those art textbooks and rip out the pages. I did that quite a bit. Or even just have the textbook available for the children to look at. They will love and spend tons of time looking at something like that. So, okay. We're going to stop sharing this resource. Back to the PowerPoint. Before we move on to music, does anyone have any thoughts or questions about art and what they should or could be doing? Okay, let's go. Okay, so we're going to hop on over to music. So again, it's the do's and the don'ts. So you're going to have an active participatory music making as part of the day. So that just means that you're singing songs with the kids, you're playing instruments with them, or you're allowing them to play instruments and explore instruments. You're moving and dancing to music. So that should be a part of every day. You should have some sort of musical element every day for these children. Just because you don't feel comfortable singing, I guarantee the children in your care think you have the most beautiful singing voice they've ever heard. They want to hear you sing. They want to sing with you. So cut down that fear and just enjoy it and get after it. Okay, we got a chat. I love the picture idea. I'm not a big mess person, so I appreciate this. Awesome. I love that the resource is a good takeaway. Have staff members who are comfortable making music with children and who are knowledgeable about music development. So that's where hopefully some follow-up trainings this month. If you feel like music is like your weakness, sign up for one of our follow-up music trainings and come in and get your feet under yourself, get some resources and ways to do it more intentional. And when you feel confident, you're going to do it in a more comfortable manner. However, if you don't have that comfortability, but you know your toddler teacher sings in her church choir and she plays 7 instruments, make sure you're seeking out those connections and allowing them to come in. That's so great. Or even if you have a friend who plays violin, ask them to come in and play their instrument for the children. It'll be the talk of the kids for weeks if you have somebody come in and play an instrument. So seek out people who are knowledgeable if you don't feel comfortable or have the knowledge yourself. Use live and recorded music that is developmentally appropriate. Equipment to play recorded music provides a pleasing sound quality. So this is on the flip side of the don't, but this is something I've seen in more and more classrooms or centers is you come in and the radio is on and it is sometimes not appropriate music that the children are having in the background. And sometimes they shut it out. However, you shouldn't be the one providing that exposure, right? You should allow the parents to, if they want to expose them to some types of music, some words, that would be their choice, right? So just make sure that you're aware of that background music that you are playing. Vary the acoustic environment, recorded music, live music, making, talking, and silence. Those are all so important. I know silence is golden and it never happens in an early childhood classroom. However, if you can have them practice, that's just as important as having that music exposure too. Don't have that continuously music playing in the background. I actually just recently did a classroom observation where it was playing the entire time. And by the end of it, I was overstimulated. And it wasn't too loud, but it was constantly pulling my attention away from my purpose of being in the classroom. So I can't imagine what the children feel too. So it eventually, though, like they see here, will become wallpaper. So if I was a student in there for a prolonged period of time, I would probably tune it out, but then that takes away the value, as it says here. Use music that is not developmentally appropriate, like I just touched on. Adult music will have lyrics that are not supportive of early childhood learning, loud dynamics, fast tempos. They're going to influence children's level of activity. And so, like we talked on earlier, we want to help them be active in ways that are appropriate for the classroom. Having that type of music might not be what you're going for if you want them to be doing quiet centers and now their energy's jacked up because a super fast song came on. Um, Limit or contain the children's music making to rote or habitual responses. This means that the staff will need to know musical development and accept and celebrate musical creativity. So there's not a wrong way, right? When they're exploring instruments, exploring their voice, allow them to create and feel open, and they will want to sing with you. So you're not shutting them down, right? Because at some point, you realize that you didn't like the sound of your voice, and you shouldn't be the one to do that to these children, right? You want them to feel that they can sing and explore. The last is dismiss the importance of music as a valuable part of every child's life because it is so important. The benefits here are, again, astronomical. We do have a special guest that logged on tonight. Delana Richter is a music teacher and even has her master's, so she's a very brilliant musician herself. And I just wanted to turn it over to her for a quick second if she has like a good takeaway advice that she would offer any teacher on how to dip their toes into implementing more music.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. I've taught music for 15 years. I have 4 kids, ages 2 to 21. So there's a lot of music making happening. Just as I was reading this, I love how all of our specials are connected. I mean, how wonderful is it? We can have that art music playing in the background and have our students color what they hear. We can have some awesome drum music and we can try out new moves from our leader of the day. Whoever's holding the stick, they get to be the active leader and we get to try out their sick new dance moves. So I just love that everything's connected. So something as I'm reading through this, as when I was in the classroom, sometimes it feels like it's always one more thing. Like there's always one more thing we're adding to our plate. And so just as I'm reading through this, so many good thoughts. But as a music educator working with a variety of students, one thing I always told my older students was when you have kids, sing to them. It doesn't matter if you don't like your voice, if you don't think you have a good voice, just like Rose said earlier, they don't care. This is not, American Idol. They're not Simon Cowell. So the best thing you can do if you want to start tomorrow is find a song that you love right now. Because if you love that song, they're going to love that song. And obviously developmentally appropriate. So it's like Coolio, maybe don't bring that into preschool. But, if it's a song that you loved from your childhood, sing that. Because, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I could go on forever. But lastly, one of my favorite units that I did as a music teacher was the basics. We sat around in a circle. I didn't feel proficient enough in guitar to sing and play at the same time. So we literally just sat around and sang everything from the ants go marching one by one. Everything my mom would sing to me in the car because I didn't have an iPad growing up. And so we had a long travel time. And so we would sit around singing songs. And those were the weeks that I had very little poor student behavior. I had high engagement, and we literally just sat around and sang. So just as I'm looking at all of this, don't feel so intimidated that you're worried about, am I using the right resources? Am I teaching them the right things about music? I'm not a musician. I don't know how to do this the right way. So my encouragement would just be just to start, and to start with something that you love about music. And like Rose said, find someone who loves music. The old timers in the community love coming in and playing their guitar, or find a banjo player, or they could talk about their instrument. So if there's other aspects that maybe you don't feel comfortable at starting tomorrow, bring in people as well. So
Thank you, Delana. I love it. Yeah, do it in any way you can. Just, yeah, start tomorrow. I love it. There's a couple of trainings that I'm going to mention in a second that will piggyback off of how you can feel comfortable doing it. So, but we're going to move on. Does anyone have any questions on the do's or don'ts before I show you this great music resource? No? Okay. So this is Sing, Play, Love. This is Dr. Ann Meeker-Watson. She came to ECC's fall conference. She was a play therapist, I think, with music. She is a brilliant woman, and she incorporates the pyramid model. So she's got a lot of social emotional learning lessons that go with her music. This one, I just wanted to share. It's really short, and it would be a great one for you to learn, to teach your children. And then there are some curriculum and some books that she has that we're going to share as a resource. And I did share that in the email, the QR code. Also, tonight we have a door prize of one of her books. So it's called Surprise Kid. So after the evaluations are submitted, I'm going to do a random name poll, and whoever I draw is going to win Surprise Kid, which is just another great book and song. And she has a YouTube channel where you can access these songs as well. So we're going to watch her little video here.
The turtle is angry and he wants to shout and fight. His head feels hot and his feet feel stumpy. His face feels scrunchy and tight. Tucker knows a secret that only turtles know. He has a friend who will understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, go. 1. You can notice your feelings. You angry, scared, blue. 2. You can stop your body, so I'm safe, and so are you. 3. You can talk.
Sing, play, love.
Okay, so like I said, she has a bunch of great YouTube videos. She has curriculum you can purchase. She also incorporates a lot of sign language, which if you came to our fall conference, you learned that sometimes children don't feel comfortable singing right away, and allowing them to practice the movement first actually invites them in to engage in the process sooner. So she's phenomenal. She's going to be next month's expert with Kayla Herbner. So if you're not signed up or you want to tell people to hop on, she's great. Okay, so now we're at the QR code portion. Got purchasing power. This was a great idea by Dr. Derby. If you're an administrator, an owner, if you own your own in-home, these are a couple of QR codes that would provide some more curriculum options. These two Dr. Derby put together or shared, so I'll let her explain a little bit about them.
Yeah, so Moving Minds is going to have all your kinesthetic environmental tools. So that's going to have all your wobble stools, all your fidgets. It has so many good things. And it has a lot of action-based learning stuff too. So if you're into math or whatever, you can find kinesthetic ways to integrate math. And then Half Pint Scholastics. So I use the Scholastics in my class for third grade. But I noticed they have a half pint, which is going to be for early childhood. But it integrates movement and learning together in a nice little package. It's a super fun activity where, again, there's like content level cards, and then there's actions that go along with it. So if you don't want to, if you have purchasing power, I'd highly recommend it.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, so then I replicated her great idea and I did one for art and music. So the Sing Play Love one is going to take you to directly to Ann Maker Watson's, where you can buy the whole curriculum, all the books and everything. Um, the art one is it depends on your philosophical approach. However, since we're stressing process versus product, this Reggio Emilia approach book is kind of like cream of the crop. Like, this is where you'd want to start to kind of understand those concepts a little better, and it's not too expensive. So that's why I put that on there. Again, these QR codes I did share via email, so you don't have to try and scan it right now, but just something to go further, and hopefully you'd be more comfortable and confident to use them in your classroom. Okay, again, like I said, we didn't have any pre-submitted questions. However, if you have a second while I'm reading these and you want to drop them in the chat, feel free. But speaking with some coworkers, these kind of came up that when we were teaching, what would have we wanted advice or help on? So how do you implement these areas in your facility without additional funding? So Dr. Derby or Krista, whoever wants to hop on first, how do you implement physical education in your facility or your in-home if you don't have the money to do some of these things?
I would just,
Oh,
okay.
go ahead.
I guess I would just say, please check out all the resources that we are providing tonight. There are so many different online resources. And just use your imagination sometimes too. If you are doing some kind of lesson, let's say you're teaching, a letter, let's say you're teaching the letter A or whatnot, have them go around the classroom in a fun little dance and find all the things that start with A. Just use your imagination and, hey, come over here to this corner. Look at A, all the A's. They're moving. Now they're moving. Or now you're singing an A song with it. You're incorporating that music, that movement. Now you're going to have them, maybe put the paper on the walls. Now they're standing up like an easel. Now they're drawing the letter. They're moving. They're not just sitting at a table. They're not just sitting on the carpet. Use your imagination, use the free resources, and just have fun with it. How can you be creative to get these kids to move more and to enjoy music and art?
Love it. Thank you, Krista. How about you, Dr. Derby?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say the one good thing that came out of COVID was the ability of physical educators and people trying to integrate movement, of trying to like get things online and make it easier, and how do you do things from home. So there's just a ton of good videos out there. Again, you don't need to have any type of equipment. I mean, kids can practice their basketball shooting without a basketball. Kids can practice their jump roping without a jump rope. You just need, kids are creative. I mean, you just give them the task and they're going to be able to practice those skills. But yeah, I would definitely say there's a ton of good resources out there. Don't forget your social media resources. I'm going to plug you, Rose, but Rose is going to be doing an ECC training here that has like the brain boosters and all those things. And those take no money. So
Absolutely. And I will tell
Can
you,
I?
please.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that training is a condensed version of Dr. Derby's PE methods course. So no, we're not going to learn all the things you would need to know in a college level course. However, you are going to build a great resource binder. So yes. All right. And Delana wanted to add something in for music.
Well, I was just going to say too, so many resources here provided, so many great free resources here provided. But also something I found in the classroom is it's relatively easy to hit those targets for so many of your standards that you need to. And the great thing about incorporating this, whether you feel like an expert or not, is that on any given day, one activity can bring in art, can bring in music, can bring in PE. And so sometimes as we get overwhelmed with all of this, if you do find one activity that is free, fun, cheap, or free, then you can just kind of like flesh it out a little bit. I feel like sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves to do the latest, greatest every week. And so as we find those things that are working for our own kids, we can just kind of like slowly build on them too.
I love that. Yeah. Don't put too much more pressure on yourselves. You guys already have the most important job in the world, and that's helping these little guys become, fully functioning little humans in society. So, we had a question in the chat. So Carol wants to know, can you give some examples of kinesthetic pathways?
So Rose, I'm gonna have you do me a favor on your screen sharing. Can you just Google? So sometimes when you Google kinesthetic or sensory pathway, it comes up with like the neurology. But we don't want that. So if you could just do sensory pathway in school, if you could Google that for us, and then share that. And I'm gonna piggyback on what Delana and also Rose have been saying about the integration. Yeah, and then just go to images. If you could just go up to images just to give some visuals. Perfect. And then you can just click on some of those to like that free printable sensory path. You want to just click on that so that they can look at it. But okay, so if you don't have money to buy this type of stuff, just think about the even chalk in your driveway or on the playground, and you can have the kids be doing action-based, learning by drawing this stuff, which is brings in your art, and then you can have them be, have some type of action-based, songs to go along with it. So we could tie all three together. But basically, what the kinesthetic or sensory pathways are is I've seen so many different ones, and you can look on here. Rose, down below, see where it says like jump, squat, reach, leap. Yep, click that. Okay, so what you do basically, you can print these out or have Rose laminate them, and then you put them on the floor or on the wall, and then that's what the kids are doing. They're getting time to practice those essential foundational skills for movement. So again, you want them doing the hopping, the jumping, the leaping, but you can, hop over a log or, jump high or whatever. So yeah, lots of good stuff.
I love it.
We have a sticker packet at ECC too. Rose, you're probably going to say that, but we have a whole packet of numbers, shapes, different kind of stickers that you can incorporate into a path like that. So we have all these resources, and they're free. We have free resources galore. So you tell us maybe what you're thinking and what you want to create, and we can help you with that thought. We can help you implement it in your classroom. We can model how maybe something, you'd like to try. We can come in and do that for you. And then, yeah, we can just help you with that.
And they're great. They're reusable too. So they're like the vinyl nice ones. So you can kind of change your path. So yeah, they're a great free resource. When Krista showed them to me when I first started, I was like, I wanted these when I was teaching. So yeah, they're awesome. I did skip over that last question. It was about how do you teach these if you're not comfortable with them? Hopefully, after tonight and maybe after some additional trainings that we have at ECC, you will be comfortable. And it's just about trying and finding a way that you do feel comfortable in little increments. And once you get that reaction from the children on how they're enjoying what you're doing, that's going to build your confidence and you're going to do it more. So,
sorry, one more thing. I feel long-winded. Practice. Like, it's just like everything else. Like, pick your favorite song, sing it on the way to school, and or practice singing to yourself in front of the mirror. It really is just a little bit of practice. Like the smallest amount of self-confidence you can give yourself is you're going to multiply that tenfold in your kids. So
love it. Practice with everything, right? And we're learning just along our children, right? I think any great teacher, where they started with their practice, hopefully is vastly different now. I mean, if I was still the teacher I was when I started, oh my goodness, I would be doing so many developmentally inappropriate things. So don't stop learning, and I appreciate you guys coming tonight. That shows me that you're invested in being a better early childhood teacher. So our little closing quote here is perhaps most important of all is the fact that art, music, and physical education are important to the education of the whole child. The head does not come to school by itself. The body does not come to school by itself. One part of the brain does not come to school by itself. The whole child comes to school. So in school, as in society, being well-rounded is important. Including special programs in the curriculum is critical to developing fully functioning, well-rounded individuals who are contributing members to society. So like I said earlier, you guys have the hardest job in the world, but if you can help them be well-rounded little individuals, you are doing the hardest job excellent. You are doing it to your full potential, and I just love to see that. So, okay, did any questions pop up in the training? We've got like a minute, we could answer them. I'm going to share the evaluation in the chat. And I did forget to navigate over here really quick. If you're not familiar with our website, this is where you find all of our trainings. If you want further training and further education on anything, so there's great art trainings, there's great physical education, and great music trainings coming up. If you want to take the training on how to create that PE binder or that music binder, that is the 19th and the 25th. Krista's got some really great ones on learning activities for energetic kids. There's just a lot of really good trainings coming up. So navigate over there, sign up for them. I will be sharing Dr. Derby and Krista's email if you have individual questions that you would like to reach out to them with. Let me see what happened in the chat. Oh, yeah, perfect, Krista. Thank you. Okay, so let me stop sharing and I will drop the evaluation in the chat for you guys. This is to everyone. Okay, I will also drop a QR code there if you prefer that. So once that eval comes back in and I have your name, like I said, I'm going to draw for a winner of our Ann Meeker Watson book. So I will mail that to you or drop it off at your facility. While you're filling that out, if you want to hang on and you have questions or you want advice from either of the experts, feel free to come off of mute or drop it in the chat. Otherwise, once you finish the evaluation, if you'll just either give a thumbs up or tell me that you're headed out, I really appreciate you guys all attending tonight. I know it was not a fun day, at least in the Black Hills with the ice and the cold. So I really appreciate all the work you guys do every day and that you took time at the end of a long day to do this. So,
So what do
oh,
so what do I click on to get this eval?
it should,
When you say chat, I'm very computer illiterate.
so it should be in the chat option and there should be a link there and it says like US02 web.
Click on this here, chat.
Dr. Derby or Krista, do you guys have any final closing thoughts for the attendees?
I just want to thank everybody so much, and please use my email if you have any questions, because that was just like a little tiny snippet. So let me know if you need any help or more resources. I'm all about
Meeting group
resources.
chat. Click this.
Thank you.
What?
Thank you, Bree.
What do I
Same
click?
here. I can't talk very well. I apologize, but yeah, if you have any questions on how to incorporate movement activities, especially for those older kids, because I work with a lot of the before and after school kids.
This is for
They love to do art and music
this
too,
stuff.
so you don't have to
Not
know the latest songs with them. They love silly camp songs. They love camp songs. So if they've never been to camp before, I've got a plethora of silly, goofy songs that they would just love to sing. And there's fun dance movements with that. And as far as art, give them a
That's as
box
far as
of
it'll go.
eclectic materials and they will love to do anything. They are so smart. They're so creative. Give them a box of
Meeting
random
group
objects and
chat.
they will create with it. So hope you guys can hear me. Thank you all again for being
Meeting
here.
group chat. I
Well, thank
don't
you,
know
Krista
what to
and
click on.
Dr. Derby. I really enjoyed tonight's. So
Click that blue
I
thing and
will
see
touch
what
base with
happens.
you guys and do a little wrap up probably next week. I hope you both recover
Meeting
and
group
start to feel
chat.
better. So, and I appreciate everyone else too. So like I said, when you complete the eval, you are free to go. Drop me
I
a
can't
hi or
I can't get the eval. don't find it in what I'm looking at for you.
What email can I send the link to?
Well, how will that work? mfair346@aol.com.
Got it here. Okay, I just emailed you the link, so you should have that email and be able to hopefully access it that way.
When I'm done, go into the email. And will there be something on there that I can click when I'm done and send it to, it'll send back to you or something?
So you should click the link and it should pop up with the eval. It should. So then you would just fill it out from there.
That might be the link now. Open mailbox, click there. This one?
Yep.
Click on that. Do you know who sent this? Yes. Click on there. Just anywhere. Show images. And then what? Here, anywhere? What? Anywhere?
Anywhere.
What's the class title?
You can just put evening with the experts.
I'm gonna hop off. Thanks for having me, Rose.
Thanks, Delana. I'll be in
Yes,
touch with you too shortly.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Shortly, I don't know.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Brandy. Thanks, Ramona, too. Just saw your thank you. Thank you all. And Bryn. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, Virginia.